Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
So, Matthew, are you pretending to be frozen? Or are you actually?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, I am assuming that I need to kind of explain the
To
topic.
our audience.
Yeah, to our audience, the topic. So, let me just start from the beginning. This will be the preamble. Like this is a episode.
First, the Earth cooled, and then the
citation.
dinosaurs came, but they got big and fat, so they died and turned into oil. And then the Arabs came, and they bought up all the oil.
So,
That's our obscure comedy reference for the day, everybody. Obscure comedy reference for the day.
Sarah and I were having a conversation in the last few days, and she said something along the lines of, "Am I more high maintenance, or am I as low maintenance as I used to be when we started dating?" And I'm like, "No, of course not." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "When we started dating, you were 22 years old, and first of all, when you start dating, there's a lot of what I call relationship chicken that happens for a little while. Sometimes it's a couple months, sometimes it's a year or two.
Like when you go on top of your car and like come right at each other in the relationship and see who turns first.
Well, where you're like, "Oh, like, do you want to do this thing?" And the other person is like, "Well, I don't want to be the shitty girlfriend or shitty boyfriend who doesn't want to do the thing." So you do a lot of like stuff that you don't want to do. So anyway.
Okay, I have my example of that, and when you're done with your setup,
Okay.
I will share that.
So I told her, I mentioned that, and then I said, but also, like, you got to think about, like, we as little kids were high maintenance. Most kids are high maintenance because they are picky about food. They're this, that, and then you get to
you were not a Gen X kid. We were the opposite. Yeah. We were, here's a key to the house, wear it around your neck, goodbye. That's right. Our maintenance. But okay, you go ahead. I understand what you're talking about because I've had kids that were not Gen X kids. So.
Yeah. So then you get into your 20s, and 20s is where you're the lowest maintenance you're ever going to be because you want freedom and you are poor. And so you actually have all the ability to do a lot of this stuff. You can go drink, you can go out all night long, you can do all these things.
But you can't.
But you don't have the money to do it. So you figure out, you're like, I'll sleep on someone's futon. I'll sleep in, and now, and then you get back into like, I'm 40 now, and you get, for at least 10 years, I've been like, I don't want to fucking sleep on someone's couch. I don't want to sleep on the floor.
If there's no mint on the pillow or chocolate chip cookie when I check in, I'm roughing it too hard.
Right. Yeah. And so you get back into that mode because you get into like, okay, I can afford to do these things. And so 20s is the like, you're high maintenance, then you hit 20s and you're low maintenance, and then you start to go back up. And I think from the average person, it just slowly builds and you get higher and higher and higher maintenance. Like, that's why we have old people who are like, it's 70 degrees. I wanted it to be 69 degrees.
75. My mother wants the house 75. And I'm trying to explain to her, the thermometer will not let me set it to 75 for air conditioning and heat at the same time. It automatically puts like a 3-degree buffer. I'll get you as close as I can, but I can't. It can't just keep switching between hot and cold as the temperature goes to 0.1 higher or lower.
Right, and so I think you just get like into that mode of life where you're like, oh yeah, like the longer you live, the more you're like, I just want shit the way I want shit.
So since my mom is the oldest in our families, other than your grandparents, obviously, but in our parental units. Mom will be 84 in a couple of weeks. She is now high maintenance for everyone around her. That is, if like a bunch of my family's in town the last week, so it's super on display, but it's on display when it's just us too. We go over for brunch at her house on Sunday, and she has to have Trader Joe's green black tea blend with a touch of mint for me. I don't care. But to her, that's the drink that Matthew has on Sunday morning. So Joseph has to have this. Leah we have to have the right bagel, the right variety. And I'm like, we don't care. We'll eat anything. It's like, no, this is the one you like. This is the lox you like. I have to get the right brand for you. And I'm like, yeah, I do prefer that one, but I don't care. But she is high maintenance on behalf of us, that we all have to have the thing that she knows that we like in her head.
That is a little bit off topic. Where I want to go with that is that Sarah and I have this theory about moms, which is that like moms are so split on their attention that when they finally like they're like, oh, Matthew likes, you know, blah 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 brand, whatever. And then she get, you know, like, and so like my mom at one point I had a corn dog and thought it was good when I was like a teenager, and then for the next 6 years, every time she went to BJ's Wholesale Club, she would get the big fucking pack of corn dogs, and I'd be like, please stop buying corn dogs.
Yeah. I was like, Mom, I like that tea, but I don't really want to drink it every single week. I would like a variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's just fun. Do you anyway, to my high maintenance theory, do you agree with the general statement or no?
I think it's a reasonable average curve.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people who don't fit into it, but sure. I think you might have the mode, like 50% of people fit into it and the other 50% are all over the place. So there's nothing else that challenges it as the most common. Mm-hmm. But I think that's reasonable. And it makes sense. Like there's a times when I would like to be high maintenance, but I can't be, or I don't have the opportunity to learn to be. Like when you're saying your 20s, you're drinking cheap beer because that's what you could afford. Like you don't have a chance to get spoiled unless you were spoiled, you know, previously. Like I love when Jacob started college and he came home from his first break freshman year, and I said, "Hey, you drinking a lot of beer?" And he goes, "No, Dad. For 2 reasons, I'm not drinking any beer." I'm like, okay. And he goes, first of all, I'm on the Tane, which was an acne medicine. The nickname for an acne medicine he was taking, where alcohol was severely contraindicated. So he was not allowed to drink, and I had forgotten that. He goes, second of all, my roommates drink cheap, shitty beer because Jacob drank my beer since he was 16. You know, and he went to Germany, had beer in Germany. So it's like what his roommates drinking like Coors Silver Bullet. He's like, this is swill. I can't even think about drinking that.
Yeah.
So you could be a little high maintenance, but your general point, you don't learn new high maintenance tendencies until you have the economic and life choice freedom to do so.
Yeah. I feel like with a lot of what I learned in my 20s, instead of like, hey, here, I mean, I have bougie taste in a lot of things. I'm sure you've noticed, but like, one of the things, my 20s, I spent like, I was a really picky eater as a kid.
Yeah, I was about to say, was there ever a time when you liked crappy Italian food, when you didn't have a high standard for your Italian food?
Oh yeah. I liked Chef Boyardee raviolis.
That's the second best Italian food on the planet. So I'm not even accepting that as a part of your answer. Matt and I talk about that all the time, that we should buy some Chef Boyardee. The mini raviolis. I think the balance of meat to sauce to pasta is better in the minis than it is in the other ones. But we miss that. We miss when we used to buy it for the kids because we used to finish it.
Okay, well, that's what we'll do is we'll do a short for the socials where you and I we can each get a can of and eat it and do a review.
It'll be a crossover
for Brooklyn Brothers. But no, but I went from like so.
Ladies and gentlemen, he forgot about what's the first. He was going to ask that, but he forgot. Let's not tell him.
What is the first?
I don't think you're old enough to know what it is. I mean, you might be. You might be because it's not made anymore, and I think it was stopped being made in like the early 90s, and you probably wouldn't be cognizant of it even though you're around, like it wouldn't have made an impression in your life yet. There used to be a frozen pizza, you know, the quality of like of Chef Boyardee, called by the brand Buitoni, which makes like the higher end pastas now. There was a thing called Buitoni's toaster pop-up or instant pop-up pizzas that look like little cheap pita breads, and you put it in the toaster and you toasted it twice until it got golden brown, and inside was a combination of sauce and cheese lava that would burn your mouth when you bit into it. And I love those, and they have not existed for a long time. There's a Facebook group, though I'm part of that's called Please Bring Back Buitoni's Instant Pop-Up Pizzas.
I will say my favorite cheap pizza, like I don't like almost any like frozen pizza. The one that if I had to have a frozen pizza, I would go for even today, I think.
Stouffer's French bread pizza.
No. Stouffer's isn't terrible. Like that's not a terrible one. It's the Elios, the rectangles.
You know, Michael, there are things about you that separate us, that keep us apart.
Okay.
But every once in a while, we hit something where we share a soul.
Yeah.
When I first moved
Chef
down
Boyardee
here,
and
like nobody carried Ilios pizza when I moved down here. Like when Publix first came here, it was like, oh my god, you got! And like I bought like 6 boxes, and the person's like, "Are you from New York?" Because everyone from New York is buying this. And now like every grocery store carries it now, but like 10 years ago, nobody did.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ilios, man, it's like the pizza you had at junior high school lunch, but good.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what I was gonna say is I hope that my mother doesn't pay attention, but my mom makes very good Italian food. But my mom made a lot of other food really badly when I was a kid. And I've learned that part of that is that my dad has bad taste in food. So like I didn't know that I liked steak until I was like 20 years old because my mom would burn the shit, like not well done. Well done is
No,
not
you
not
went on to kosher. Like
it was
everyone
leather.
else is done eating their steak, and yours is still on the grill.
It was leather. It was like eating leather, and it wasn't like, and I like jerky, but it was not like that. It was like eating leather. And
with ketchup, with ketchup, are you Donald Trump? Are you try leathery steak with ketchup?
When I was a kid, that was the only way we could get steak. Was my mom would make steaks, and she would make them like once a month or something, and we would have them, and it was fucking terrible, and I hated it every time. And I would just like douse it in A1, because then it at least had like a little moisture to it. And then I was dating my ex-girlfriend, and even though like I'm a picky eater, I try not to be a rude person. And we were at her dad's house, and he was going to make T-bones, and so he made 3 T-bone steaks. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to eat this steak, and then if it's bad,
I'm going to pretend I like it.
And he made it, and I was like, what is this? And he's like, it's steak? I'm like, no. I'm like, I've never had anything like this before.
What's this juicy thing?
And he's like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, no, steak is like leathery. And he goes, oh, you're one of those. So like my 20s was a time of like learning a lot of that stuff. But I think like now I'm like, no, I'm not gonna eat a shitty steak. Like,
see, if my father had not been raised secular, as a secular Jew and as an atheist, the fact that Jews overcook their meat to get all the all the blood out of it, which we know it's not even blood, it's a different protein liquid, but they thought it was blood because they're stupid. The fact that they overcooked the hell out of their steak would have made my father an atheist. Like he would have had no choice but to leave Judaism as far behind as he could, because my dad is I'll actually say is a medium rare steak guy. My mom is a rare steak person. She grew up kosher, and once she got out of that, she makes it like I learned my love for cold center from my mom.
Yeah. I don't like rare. I've eaten rare on a couple of occasions. And I don't love it. So to me, like a medium is a perfect steak.
I've moved closer to medium in my old age because of Bobby Flay.
Yeah.
Bobby Flay made a great argument for it. If you have it too rare, medium rare, the fat is not melting and redistributing through the steak, and that's where the flavor comes from. So you might I like the texture of it. I like a cold center. I like the texture of rare steak, but the flavor is more flavorful when you get up closer to medium because the fat is more juicy.
Yeah. So can I tell you this is a patron story, but I'm too high maintenance now. I don't want to do it. I don't want to have blue rare emergency diarrhea. So
yeah, I remember going to the Peddler Steakhouse in Raleigh, which used to be like it was Peddler and Angus Barn were the only steakhouses 25, 30 years ago, whatever, right? And we went there from work, and it's the kind of place where they come to the table and you say, I want ribeye. So they bring the ribeye like cut to the table, and they take the knife this thick, and how thick, and they cut it, and then they weigh it, and you pay by how thick they cut it.
Nice.
And they ask to me, I get my cut, and they say, how would you like that cooked, sir? And I say, rare. And they say, well, rare is cold center here. Is that okay, sir? And before I can answer, my director, Steve, goes, when Matthew orders a steak, he wants you to cut off the horns, wipe the asshole, and throw it on a plate.
That's so gross.
So you talk about high maintenance in your old age. Here's, married couples might have the story of here's what annoys me about my wife because she's high maintenance, or my husband because he's high maintenance, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's my high maintenance story for the week, and it's not an annoyance one. I happily did it, but we were over at my mom's last night because my brother and his wife and one of his daughters are still in town. His whole clan was in town over the weekend. Most of them have left, and we were over last night, and we were getting ready to leave, and someone on Facebook posted a picture of a comet that was visible from our area an hour before. And she's like, "Oh my God, we have to go see this comet. But first we need to go home because it's cold. I need to get a jacket if I'm going to be out of the car looking." So by the time we go, it's been an hour and a half maybe since the comet. And I'll jump to the punchline. The comet must have been below the horizon because no matter where we went to try to get a view, we could not find the comet anywhere. So it must have dropped below the horizon. But for 45 minutes, I drove around to different parking lots. I drove out to Highway 64 all the way to Jordan Lake and stopped on the side of the road because the lake was all around us. So there was no trees, nothing to block the view. Because my wife wanted to see a white line in the sky.
Yeah, we did that for the Aurora. What I was starting to say, though, is Sarah is... I don't think Sarah's high maintenance compared to the other women that I've had in my life, whether they be ex-girlfriends, my sister, my mother, her friends, her sister. Like, I don't think Sarah is that high maintenance. Sarah is high maintenance. 36-year-old Sarah is high maintenance compared to 22-year-old.
Yeah, I'd say Madhavi is accidentally high maintenance.
Yeah,
and it's mostly that she doesn't like driving at night, and she especially doesn't like to drink at all and drive. She doesn't want like one glass of wine. She doesn't want to drive, and so I have to take her places that she wants to go, or she can't go to them. Like that's where the high maintenance comes in. Like I have we're going here because Madhavi wants to go here, so I got to go. Like I have to take her to the places, but I mean I don't have to. I could say no, but then I'd be a shitty husband, so I don't say no.
It also doesn't sound that high maintenance,
right? I mean, I'm saying like it's not like, but it's like. But it's for things like, oh, what do we do tonight? Oh, tonight you're taking me to this place, to Target, because I want to go to Target, and you have to take me. Or we're going to the wine place, and you have to come home from work and then pick me up, and then we go because I can't meet you there because then I can't drink. So it makes scheduling. I mean, it's as far as scheduling, at least.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way. That's just that's a give and take of a relationship way.
Yeah. Do you think you're high maintenance?
I'd say there are times that I am, but it's not my normal mode of being. And it's more in high maintenance in the negative thing. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I know you want to schedule a way around going to do this, but I am just not doing that. Like, I don't want to do that. It's not like I would force you to do anything or go anywhere. It's the things I would say no to that become, like, in a way, high maintenance because I won't do the thing you want me to do. Pegging. I'm talking about pegging.
Nice. I think that Sarah would probably say that I'm not super high maintenance, but I think that everyone else in my life would be like, no, Mike's high maintenance.
I mean, she would say that, and I'd say, take a look at all his audio video equipment. And she, well, there's a little bit. Again, it depends on where you're looking in your life.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that I can be high maintenance. I'm picky. I'm a picky eater. I have lots of like it drives Sarah and Logan crazy, but like I am very much like I don't want to shop at a place or shop with Chick-fil-A. I don't.
Like I said, I can't go back to the restaurant that we went to that I'm not even saying the name of because
yesterday. At lunch, Logan was. I didn't tell him where we were going. He had said the day before, I really liked Dave's hot chicken, and I was like, cool.
That's because he was with Uncle Matthew and Uncle Alex.
Yeah, and so where we were out and about yesterday because he was off of school, and he's like, I'm hungry. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going for lunch right now, and he goes, where are we going? And I was like, it's gonna be a surprise. And he goes, Chick-fil-A. I'm like, it will never be Chick-fil-A.
It'll never be that when it's just me. Maybe Mom, but not me.
Yeah. And then the other day, Sarah and him and I were having a conversation. He was talking about the new Harry Potter show. And he was like, I wonder who they're going to get. And I said, I think they're having trouble right now
Because nobody wants to be in it.
getting. And he goes, why? And I said, because J.K. Rowling's is kind of a bad person. And I didn't 100% want to like get into it because I think Sarah sometimes doesn't want to have those conversations with him. But she was 100% down, and she was like, people used to think she was really good. I'm like, yeah, I think she was really good in a lot of ways up until a certain point. And they said,
Hit the one topic and then she just doubled down and became Nightmare and 10 other topics too.
Yeah. So we ended up having this long conversation with him about bigotry, and we had to explain. Do you know what bigotry is? No. Do you know what
it's the opposite of smolatry.
Yeah. But we had a really good conversation with him about it.
Jimmy told me about bigotry. Oh, who's Jimmy? He's my Jewish friend. Do you know that? Is that in your lexicon? When I was a kid, there was a thing. It was this old man and his son on a fishing boat, or his grandson on a fishing boat. He goes, Grandpa, what's prejudice? He goes, oh, what? Why do you ask? He goes, Jimmy told me I was prejudiced. Well, who's Jimmy? Jimmy's my Jewish friend. Well, then you are prejudiced because you think of Jimmy as your Jewish friend and not your friend. It was like a little Saturday morning commercial in between cartoons.
Nice. See, I was thinking something else when you said Jimmy, because my cousins were into VeggieTales, and I was probably like 20, and they were watching one of the VeggieTales things, and there was a clip from the thing that came up, and it was, it was Billy. It wasn't Jimmy. It was Billy, and the kid goes, the TV says, Billy has more toys than you do. And the little kid goes, Mommy, Billy has more toys than I do. And she goes, who's Billy? I don't know, but he has more toys than I do.
He needs to die. Oh, by the way, everyone, if you want to know why Mike's son likes Dave's Hot Chicken so much and where it was the first time he had it, check out Brooklyn Brothers Food, or maybe the second time. Yeah. Brooklyn Brothers Food Review, crossover episode with Chuckle Dime Media, where Mike and I and our intrepid producer Alex were making a short film, and we took a break to go get some Dave's Hot Chicken. And Logan was with us. You might see his arm or leg in the cut, but we're trying to protect him from you crazy internet viewers.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of shooting that short film, if possible, can we shoot some more of it this week? Because the other two short films are complete.
We all look different. We've got haircuts, beard cuts, like completely different looking people.
Well, we're going to reshoot Alex completely, and your part can be like, it can take place at a different time. So anyway, see, I can't imagine that you and Alex is being quiet, but I can't imagine that you two don't think that I'm high maintenance, because I feel like I'm texting you all day, every day. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this?
Well, I feel like Alex is a very socially needy person,
Yeah, possibly. Especially when he's like stimming and needs to think something out loud.
No, I think out loud.
Oh, yeah, out loud is even, yeah.
This is what happens when we try to read Alex's notes in the chat while we're recording.
So anyway,
and I can't read what he said now because it would be for the $10 patrons. What a mouth on that keyboard.
Yeah, I'm excited to become more high maintenance as I get older, because I feel like that is a privilege that we all get.
I don't think you're high maintenance, because I ignore all your texts and you don't care that I ignore them. Like, I'm busy, so I don't get to them until the end of the day. I'm like, is this still relevant to even reply to? I'll find out what the topic is when I get online.
That's how I feel when I like do half of my messages to you guys. I'm like, if I need them to respond, I will reiterate. And when I'm like uploading shit and I'm tagging you guys as
co-creators or
whatever, I'm like, I don't care if you guys never accepted that and like just left it the way it was, that's fine, but I'm giving you the option to do with it what you will, and so I don't care. But
I got through and I said, how offensive is this to my coworkers who follow me? No, this one's okay.
Yeah. Well,
and I love all the Instagram reels, by the way, because look behind the curtain, everybody. All day I get Russian bots and porn sites liking our videos.
I know. And
I'm like,
sometimes
ooh,
it's
hot model like my. Oh, it wasn't me. It was Alex and Mike quitting a job.
yeah. Well, sometimes it's fun because I'll like be like it'll say something like Irina liked your reel, and I'm like, who's Irina? And I'm expecting it to be that, and then it's like Irina is friends with Matthew and Madhavi and Leah, and I'm like, oh, okay, Irina's not porn. Irina's a made up name.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been Tatiana. So if you want a Russian name, we have a Russian friend. So if it was a Russian name, it was Tatiana.
It's basically just any woman's name that I don't recognize. I'm like, there's a 50-50 chance it's porn or it's someone in Matthew's life.
Because because those videos I'm tagged in, so they're in my feed also, so my followers are seeing it. Yeah. It's like we do have a Russian friend, a friend from Siberia. She won like a lottery to be able to come to the U.S. legally for her grad studies, and she got her master's and then her PhD here. She adopted us as her American parents. She would call me, I forget, I don't speak Russian, but she called me in Russian. The equivalent in Yiddish would be alta kaka, or in English would be old fart. Like she wrote it in a birthday card, and I showed it to a Russian coworker, and he laughed. He goes, "I can't even say this to you." I'm like, "What?" And it was like old shit or old fart, basically.
My mom worked at a church for 15 years or something, and when I was like 22 or 3, my mom had a coworker or a woman about my age at the time came from Russia, and the church hired her because she was a Catholic, and I know Russian Catholic is probably like not that common, but she'd come from Russia, and my mom goes, "Hey, like she doesn't have any friends your age. Would you mind taking her out to trivia?" Because I was going to trivia every week with like coworkers and stuff. That's how I met Sarah, and so I take her, and Russian girl, her name's Svetlana. I'm like, she's gonna be fucking hot. She wasn't. But like she was weird as fuck, and we got along fine. But the very first night, I bring her out to meet some people, and I have a little bit more on the sides right now that I do like meat, hair, not meat. And she goes, "You look like a guinea pig with your big cheeks and your facial hair." And all my friends were like, "Hilarious! Mike looks like a guinea pig." And I was like, I'm like, she does not get the social cues.
When I was in 8th grade, my parents got me a Spanish tutor and a new tutor, and my friend Howard's over, and we're playing Mattel in television, and my mom's like, "Oh, Howard needs to leave soon because Bambi's coming." And I'm like, "Bambi's coming? Like your new Spanish tutor, Bambi?" And Howard like, "Bambi's coming." Howard's like, "Fuck, I'm not leaving before Bambi gets here. I want to see Bambi." And Bambi's like a high school student. She's like 4'5", 4'6", just freckles, glasses, braces, a bob haircut. She was not like an ugly woman or unattractive woman, but she wasn't a Bambi. She was just like she was a Linda. She wasn't a Bambi.
Yeah. Svetlana was the same thing. She was just like a very average, generic-looking person.
Yeah.
But like you hear like Russian Svetlana.
Yeah, we were just very upset. We were like, Howard's like, "You should get your money back. That's not a Bambi. Whoever told you it was Bambi was lying."
Yeah. See, I think the name Bambi though is because of the deer. Makes
the male deer. I'll also say,
Bambi
is it a male? He was the prince of the forest. Yeah.
Okay. It's been a long time since.
Yeah, I mean, people don't really know that. And you should know that because we made a short video once where Sarah said that she misgendered Bambi in the video. Auntie's apologies. The first she talked about how she misgendered Bambi, and the death threats have just stopped thanks Anthony's apologies.
Oh yeah,
I know your wife's filmography better than you do.
Yeah, I mean it's been years. Yep. All right. So maintenance, high maintenance, low maintenance.
So let me tell you a high maintenance story because I don't care about this bitch, so I'm going to call the bitch out. My younger brother Jeremy.
Is he the bitch?
No.
The way you said it, I don't give a fuck about this bitch.
He was working for this computer company selling software out in California, and there was this girl I worked with, she was a PharmD, pharmacy degree, advanced pharmacy degree, and she was really cool, and I liked her a lot. And I said, she should date Jeremy. That would be so cool. So I'm telling her about Jeremy. She's like, I wouldn't mind meeting him. I'm not dating anyone. So I'm like, I'm going to introduce Jeremy. Jeremy comes to visit. I'm like, Jeremy, I got this girl I'm waiting to meet. He goes, oh, I just started dating someone at work. I'm like, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll introduce you to Allison sometimes. So he's dating this girl. I won't say her name, but it's Marissa. And they date for a while, and then she's Filipino. She's very cute. She's very bubbly. She's like hanging out with the family. They moved here, and they're living in an apartment near here. It's cool. They get engaged. Oh, lovely. Madhavi is a bridesmaid, and it's a wonderful little wedding. It's great. The next fucking day, but she became bridezilla towards the end of the planning of the wedding. But we're like, hey, wedding planning. Lots of women become bridezilla. She was worse the day after the wedding. Suddenly, she was like, I want to travel here, and I want to go here, and I want to go back to California. We can't live here anymore near your family. I want to move back to California near my friends. I miss my friends. Like literally the day after the wedding, like she wanted to move back to California to be with her friends. Didn't say a word about that before they were married. She would call, and my parents would answer the phone. When they lived here, they were over the house every day for hours a day. My parents answered the phone. Oh, my parents would call, and she'd answer the phone, and they're like, "Hey, Marissa, it's Manny." And hold on, Jeremy, it's your father. Just hand the phone off, like not even a hello, just hand it off. And she was the worst high maintenance nightmare ever. And it was but it was so controlled before the engagement. Like she never let him see that's who she was until they got engaged.
Yeah.
We call her the ex-wife. It's like when they got divorced. When they finally walked out of the lawyer's office, except the final papers were signed, Jeremy goes, I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing this again. She's like, what, you're not going to get married again? He's, no, I'm not going to marry a bitch that I have to divorce. When I was a kid, being bar mitzvah, the fact that my birthday's in November, I was the last of my friends practically to get bar mitzvah because everyone in school was 6 months older than me kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I had to invite everyone who invited me because that's what you do.
Yeah.
But I'm a funny guy. And I could juggle, and I would juggle food at bar mitzvahs. So I got invited to bar mitzvahs just because I was funny. I was just one extra person. So I had people that I hardly even was friends with that I had to invite to my bar mitzvah.
Nice. Speaking of bar mitzvahs, Sarah and I just binge watched Nobody Wants This. Have you seen it or heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've seen interviews with what's her name about Kristen Bell about it. Yeah.
Nice. We really liked it. There's some controversy over the portrayal of Jewish women in it. And
it's too accurate.
I don't know. They were like all the Jewish women seem terrible, and I was like, well, what about the woman rabbi? She's fucking awesome. I loved her. I don't know.
I'll say again, it was too accurate.
Yeah. I also want to say that the not Jewish women weren't great. It wasn't like a.
So that goes into a category I think I want to talk about in the future, but. It's comedy. You have to have stereotypes. You don't have to, but it's not uncommon to have stereotypes. And if you have all perfect people, there's no room for humor with a bunch of perfect people.
Yeah. I think you should. I think if you watched it, you would be like, oh, this. I think there is enough nuance there. It's one of those things where people sometimes don't want to watch the nuance, but I thought some of the characters that people were bitching about, I was like, I really liked that character when they weren't in their public facing mode.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we are.
There's a lot of things that people will probably say, what a horrible stereotype. And I'll be like, oh no, I know her. That's not a stereotype. Yeah. That's just a kind of person.
Yeah. Did you ever see Shallow Hal?
Yes.
So Shallow Hal gets shit on all the time.
Yeah, did not age well as a concept.
But people, even at the time, it was getting shit on. When it was still going into theaters, people were like, this is anti-fat and blah, blah, blah. And it's there isn't really a great way of expressing inner beauty, outer beauty in that way. So it's clunky and a little bit it's not great in that way.
I think it suffered the same as I think Big Bang Theory does, that it made fat jokes. It didn't it didn't unmake them. They made all the jokes, and at the end said, oh, I shouldn't have made the jokes. But the humor of the movie was the jokes. Same way Big Bang Theory makes fun of nerds and makes fun of nerd culture. Yeah. Doesn't celebrate it as much as it makes fun of it most of the time. And then hides behind we're celebrating it. No, you're not. But you're still using it. It's kind of like you had, hey, if he learns a lesson at the end, that excuses making a bunch of fat jokes.
Yeah, I would need to rewatch it to
Yeah.
like fully
Though,
have this.
in that vein, I sent you a video on TikTok to the Talking About the Big Stuff channel. You can watch later.
I
But
saw that it came through, but I was in the
yeah,
middle of getting everything set up for tonight.
Jerry Seinfeld,
Yeah.
going back on his statement that the like extreme left being woke has ruined comedy. Him saying I was totally wrong. That's bullshit. So it's going to be a topic at some point. It was. I was like, damn. Boomer actually stood up and took the heat, and he just says like flat out, I was just wrong.
Damn.
Yeah.
Because Jerry Seinfeld's been kind of one of those people who's just kept doubling down and doubling down.
Yeah. I mean, and it was the weirdest thing when he came out against it, because I'm like, dude, you don't have an offensive joke in your entire repertoire of 20, 30 years. Like, you're the person it affects least. I don't even get it.
He got upset. Really what happened was he got upset because he made the joke like this about being a gay French king while you're scrolling on your phone. Nobody laughed, not because it was offensive, because it's not a funny joke.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, they're offended, like the way comedians do right now.
His taking offense at it was really weird. And I think he came to realize that. But I don't want to get into the details because that'll be a future topic. I think when you watch the video, you're going to be like, oh, shit, this is a great little monologue. We should address this.
Nice.
I think it was well done.
All right, maybe next week. Also, next week we should probably do 2. The week after we should do 2, because we're not going to want to film on election night unless you guys want to go live stream. But I think Alex has a party that night, so
yeah. And Cogdis is live streaming. Yeah,
we could set up cameras at your place. And viewers and listeners, if you want to go to Alex's party, it is at
the address will be in the show notes.
No, if you subscribe,
that's $10 patrons.
I was going to say, if you subscribe at our new $1,000 patron level, we will give you the address.
I am good giving Alex's address out to $10 patrons.
Nice. So.
And he's not arguing it. Guys, you would hear him cut in and say no if he meant no, so clearly he's okay with it.
I will say this about Alex.
He's an exhibitionist and he will masturbate in front of you.
I was going to say, no, he's probably one of the least high-maintenance people I know, because I'm just like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, sure, let's do it. Like, I literally have yet to hit the high-maintenance mode on Alex. So, Matthew's typing.
Anyway. Sending a note to our producer. But he's
yeah. So anyway.
So where's the line between high maintenance and just liking what you like?
I think the line to me would be
like my dad likes steak and potatoes and Pepsi. So if you want to go to a restaurant, it has to be a restaurant that has just the steak or a burger, potato. Like it can't be an Italian restaurant because he doesn't like Italian food. So it's, so on the one hand, it sounds kind of high maintenance, but it's like I like what I like. What am I going to do?
I think that the high maintenance part comes into play when it is affecting somebody else. When somebody else has to do something to accommodate it.
You must cater to me.
Right. And so like I am a picky eater, but I don't think I'm particularly high maintenance about eating, because there's something for me to eat almost everywhere. I don't like going to seafood restaurants because their other food is garbage. Like some people always like, there's always there's a pasta dish, and like that tastes and smells like fish, like or is just like the most generic, like we put tomato paste from a can and some chili powder into a pot for an hour, and that's marinara sauce. Like,
you pull the shrimp out of the scampi and mix that into the pasta instead.
Yeah, no, but like growing up in like Massachusetts and everybody wanting to go to like lobster places and all the different
going illegal seafood.
Everybody would be like, there's plenty of options, and I'm like, but they're all bad. But if you take out seafood restaurants specifically, like whenever I'm like at work and I'm like, hey, where do you guys want to go for lunch? Like there is something I can get almost everywhere. Like so I don't consider that high maintenance. It's more like, I think it is. It's how am I putting you out with my stuff?
If I don't eat fish in general except for Jewfish, so my friends want to go for sushi, and I'm like, if they have other stuff on the menu, even if it's just dumplings on the appetizer menu, but if they have noodles, or they have hibachi, or have anything not fish, I'm happy to go to the sushi place with you, as long as they have something else I can have, and which could be just 2 orders of dumplings if there's dumplings in the app. I'm fine with that. But if it's just sushi and nothing else, then I just can't go. But I'm not going to stop you from going. I just I'll go get a burger. I'm good.
That's the one way I think Sarah would argue I am high maintenance, because like she will like, let's say I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood for Chinese. She'll say, oh, let's go to Red Bull, and I'm like, Red Bull isn't fucking Chinese. Like, I'm like, Red Bull has options that I like, but it's not Chinese. So if I'm craving Chinese, I'm not. That'd be like if I said like, oh, I could really go for some Italian food.
Let's go to the Olive Garden, maybe.
No, I would, and if she was like, let's go to Cava, and I'd be like, I mean, sure, it is vaguely similar because there's olives, like.
Yeah, well, I tell, to me, like, having a preference of what kind of food you do and don't eat isn't high maintenance. High maintenance is getting there and pulling a Harry Met Sally. So I'll have the pasta primavera, but I don't like zucchini, so no zucchini in it. And I do want the carrots, but I want half the normal amount of carrots you do, and I don't want it like piping hot. So if you can let it sit in the back for about 3 or 5 minutes before you bring it out, like, that's high maintenance.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, the only thing I like on the menu is this, so I want this, that's not high maintenance. That's just having a preference.
Yeah. Another little Patreon.
But there are times my mother goes to order food and we all strap in. We're like, oh no, it's going to be a speech. I don't want it too,
from Harry Met Sally?
I don't want it too spicy, but I don't want it not spicy. And then, like, when tuna is always the scary one, because she's like, I mean, she can describe what she wants in tuna. I want the tuna to just start turning color. Once it starts turning color, that's right. Take it off the grill. And that's where I want it. So it's easy to explain, but so easy to not do right when she's not happy. So when she likes it, we're just like, oh, thank the Lord. Like, I'll start believing now.
Sarah does this thing when we're at restaurants, and I'm like, and I always laugh because I think it's hilarious. And I wouldn't say it's like crazy high maintenance. I would just say it's crazy. And that is, she asks about the 2 things she's thinking about, like, which one would you pick? But they're not usually like in the same category. So it's not like, oh, the chicken cordon bleu versus like
the chicken French
stuffed chicken. Yeah. It's not like those 2 things. It's usually like, what would you recommend? The chicken cordon bleu or the Caesar salad? And you're like, what? Unless one of them's a signature dish, why are you asking that question?
But I was once in a steakhouse on a business trip, and they had like a cowboy steak that came with compound butters or something like that, and they had a rack of lamb, and I was like, I love lamb. When restaurants have lamb, I tend to get lamb. So I say to the waiter, I'm torn between the cowboy steak and the rack of lamb, and the guy goes, we're a steakhouse. Yes, I'm having the cowboy steak, and I will have the bone marrow compound butter to go with it. And he's like, no, that's a good choice. Like, whew, I passed the waiter's requirements.
And I think that Sarah does sometimes be like, is there anything that's like a signature thing? That's fine. But it is sometimes where she does compare, should I get the oatmeal or the or the beef Wellington? And I'm like,
I don't do
how are they going to answer that question?
I don't do it in fancy places a lot, but things like food trucks or like sandwich shops or something like that, or small places, I will often just say, I don't like this, but except for that, give me whatever you think would make me want to come back. Like, whatever you think is best, and I'll have it however you would make it for yourself. And they'll go, well, for myself, I'm like, no. You don't have to tell me. As long as it's not fish or olives, just make it for me.
Yeah.
And I usually get along really well that way. It's usually a good way to go. And sometimes when we used to, at Glaxo, they used to have like a display cooking in the cafeteria that was every day was something different. It was a pasta or a burrito or, something that they can make in front of you with lots of choices. There were always lots of choices fresh made. And I would always say to whoever's working it, I'll have it however you'd make it for yourself. And half the time that meant I would get a little chicken, a little shrimp, and a little steak instead of one protein. They would go, like, I make it for myself with all 3. So like things that you didn't know were an option would end up on my plate. And they knew it was however they would make it, plus if there's jalapenos, throw those in. And the 3 chefs that rotated through that station all knew I did that. And there'd be times that I'm online with other people and they're like, oh, what is it today? And they're explaining what today's item is. And I get there, I go, the usual. And they're like, they've never had this before. How can you order the usual? Mm-hmm. But the chef knows, and he's just making it.
Yeah. So you're in that way lower maintenance than me. I think the only way in which that you would probably be higher maintenance than me is that you are. I feel like you would not handle being considered unfunny, whereas I've been considered unfunny, so like I can handle it.
That. There was a time at Glaxo used to have a every other month class on how to do one of the roles in the job that we do in creating marketing material. And different people, lawyers have to take it, and doctors have to take it, and editors take it, and marketing people, like anyone involved in creating marketing material and approving it. And the person in my department's running the class, and she says to a new medical person who's been there a couple of weeks, what brand do you work on? And she goes, brand blah, blah, blah. She goes, oh, you work at Matthew then. And she goes, oh yeah, that guy, he thinks he's funny. And she whips around. She goes, Matthew is funny. She told me that story, and I was like, defending me.
The year that Sarah and I got married, Sarah was in one of our bridesmaids, and one of our groomsmen. They got married as well. This is one of the one I was talking.
Oh, that's the one you did a swap with for the honeymoons.
No, they were the ones that they got divorced, and we lost him in the divorce.
Oh, yeah.
But she is super fucking high maintenance, that woman. She's a psycho. She's never gonna watch this, so I'm not worried about that. But she's super high maintenance. But that whole summer we were spending a lot of time with them and with her bridesmaids as well. And one of her bridesmaids didn't think anything I did was funny, and I was like, I fucking hate that girl. And Sarah and her best friend didn't like that woman either, and they were
but
like,
you had
we
a
don't
better
like
reason.
Her. No, I had the worst reason. They were
That's
like,
the best reason.
Yeah, but yeah, and I was like, she doesn't find me funny, and that's unacceptable.
I agree.
So yeah. So
isn't it weird when someone doesn't find someone funny who you find funny? Like there was someone in my old comedy troupe who had a really weird, obscure, quirky sense of humor, but I would fall to my knees laughing at some of the shit she would say. Like I found it so funny, and there was someone else in the group who was like, "Oh, she's just here because she's hot, because she's not funny at all." And I'm like, I mean, she's hot, yeah, but she is hysterically funny. She's here because she makes me laugh almost harder than anyone else. Like when she hits hard. And the person, I don't see it. I'm like, I think you just don't like her because she's hot. And so nothing's funny to you because of that. Like it's the reverse.
Yeah. I feel sometimes like that about Sarah. I feel like Sarah's also.
And let me just say, for Mikey who's listening, I'm the weird one. Yes, you're the weird one. Sorry, we were discussing what our roles are, and we said that she was the weird one, and she was like, "I'm the weird one," and everyone's like, "Yes, you're the weird one."
Yeah.
So Mikey knows who I mean now, though he probably knew anyway.
Nice. Tell him he needs to come on, if not the podcast, at least.
He can hear you.
Mikey, you need to come on, if not the podcast, at least you need to come on Exit Interviews. Yeah. You and Matthew can quit and fire each other, and it'll be great.
Yeah, maybe I need to reach out to the idiots in general and pick a Saturday or a Sunday when we all have like an hour block free and just have everybody on and take turns doing them together, and we have a bunch in the can.
That'd be good. So, should we start wrapping things up?
Sure.
Did you have any last high maintenance, low maintenance, bell curve things to mention, to talk about?
No, but I find myself thinking that, of the exception of driving around the world to chase astronomical events, I ended up with a really low maintenance wife. I think I lucked out there.
I agree. You did. No, I think I
did luck out.
You absolutely did lucked out. But I think I lucked out. I think Sarah's pretty low maintenance. And the things that she's high maintenance in are like interesting, weird things, not like typical things that people are high maintenance about. So, and I'm sure that she would say that I am high maintenance. No, she probably would. I think if you ask my parents, my sister, and my like the rest of my family, and then Sarah took a survey, I think Sarah would rank me the least high maintenance out of all those people that were ranking me. I think they would all be like, Mike's a pain in the ass.
Well, I think you're a pain in the ass, but I don't think you're high maintenance. I think you're thinking of anything where your likes are at odds with theirs, so there's a conflict and you can't do something or say something, and you're considered that high maintenance. That's not high maintenance. High maintenance to me is everyone must do it my particular way, or like the kind of the Harry Met Sally thing in a restaurant, where I know that you guys are the experts, but I'm going to tell you how to do it. And it's the old Jewish joke, a Jewish person will go in a restaurant to order. I mean, Harry Met Sally was kind of playing on that, even though she wasn't Jewish, but it's Billy Crystal's movie, and it's I want my tuna cooked, but I don't want to cook too much, and I want the vegetables crispy, but I don't want them undercooked, and I want what? Let me come back in the kitchen. I'll show you how to make it. But it's very much an attitude. Is I know what I want, and I'm paying for it, so I want it exactly the way I want it, and that's high maintenance.
Yeah. All right.
And I used to have a droid that broke down a lot, so that droid was high maintenance.
Like a droid phone?
From Star Wars, but you can cut that out. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not funny.
You are funny. I just sometimes don't get the joke.
No, that one didn't land. That one just didn't land. That wasn't a good one. I didn't find it funny. It worked up here. It didn't work so much down here.
Yeah. All right. So if you are watching us on YouTube, we're really wanting to hit 100 subscribers right now. We've been growing slow, but like steady, and it would be great if you
like my penis.
Don't like his penis. No. If you would hit that subscribe button on YouTube, that'd be excellent. It'd be so helpful for us. If you are listening to us wherever else you get podcasts, give us a like or a thumbs up, whatever they have. Give us a rating or a review. That would be super helpful. Yeah. And Matthew, you got anything else?
I just want to thank everybody who joined us this week. We're talking about the big stuff, and I hope we talked about it to your satisfaction.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.